Hey everyone. Good morning. We don't usually do this because, frankly, it sucks to do shows at 9 in the morning. but when you're hockey writers, but it's okay. We're good. And unfortunately, none of the games. I mean, we didn't go to overtime last night like we looked like we were going to.
Sure.
In a couple games, but neither game went. So we're fortunate enough to get through that. But yeah. Do you have you might get something you wanted to address? Or Rush, you did.
I got a pre-show. So Twitter ads. So lately, the latest Twitter ad, and it's annoying, is for men's underwear, and the men's underwear, and it says it will change my life. And I have to tell you, I don't know how you guys are. There's no underwear on earth that will change my life.
It's not true. I actually
it is true.
I actually do have underwear that changed my life. And
okay.
For the negative? Go ahead.
But so this one, so you click on the ad and it says, it's got silver mixed in. And so it's basically.
What? I have this underwear.
I know, but here's the thing.
It's got silver mixed in?
This is from
it's basically saying if you cut one, no one's gonna know because the underwear will disguise it. But my idea is, if that's really the case, just wait until you're at your house or in a bathroom and don't rely on the underwear. Here's the
we
other
really got to talk about the pre-show stuff that we.
And it says NASA created it. I don't need NASA to make my underwear. I don't.
No,
well, they made Tang, and Tang is great. So
yeah,
it's like Mac Holden or something. It's like
I don't know, and I don't care.
I actually was, because they were talking about see, one of the really bizarre perks of being an internet maven like I am, is that once in a while, when internet companies come along, you end up getting like free things sent to you to see, if you want to possibly use them as an advertiser. So I actually did get a copy of Mac Weldon underwear that's silver, that has the silver inside of it. I tried them, and I didn't try this out. I mean, what it's like, what? Like, I agree with you, Russ. It doesn't seem, first of all, it's completely ridiculous. I would never advertise that. It's not really. It's supposed to be odor, whatever.
Right.
Odor retaining. Silver has been used for centuries, of course. For that
that's the line of bull crap, because it's copper that's odor eliminating. It's not so. At least I've never heard silver. I think this is just
lately on silver being.
Yeah, this is just like this is a gimmick. This is a gimmick to raise the price of underwear, or it's like friggin' Goldschlager, where they said they put gold shavings in the bottom of a bad cinnamon liqueur to make you drink that crap. I mean,
well, I will tell you this though, it is possibly the most comfortable underwear I've ever had owned, but so we'll give them that. But I mean, the price on it is atrocious. It's like, I think it's like $30 a pair or something like that. It's something absurd, like just absolutely lunatic. But
and I just want to let's just point this out. I don't want some hockey reporter to test this out when we're all in a scrum in a locker room.
No, there's no point in that. Absolutely not. Agree with you.
Please.
Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more.
Well, I have to say in terms of internet advertising and listening, I listen to TuneIn Radio, who the HockeyBuzzcast is on, a number of different shows, and the most annoying thing is you could avoid the they have a 30-second commercial, but you usually could avoid the commercial by just like shutting the whatever podcast you're listening to and then turning it back on again. But they've wised up to that, and apparently they make you play the 30-second commercial. And of course I found a workaround for that, but it's almost as much of a pain in the butt as the commercial itself. But there is some show with Hank Azaria. I don't know on what platform it is.
Brockmeyer. It's a great show.
Yeah, Jim Brockmeyer, and it's the most annoying friggin' commercial with him making this like 1930s Red Barber voice. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to watch this show. I don't want to hear about the show. And every single time I go on and listen to anything, I hear, "Hi, I'm Jim Brockmeyer." Well, Jim Brockmeyer, go yourself. I mean, I don't want to hear you.
I would appreciate that. That's his character is very salty, but it is a funny show. It is.
But
I get why commercials get annoying.
No, there's nothing better than people who earn their living off of internet commercials talking about how terrible they are. I'm gonna throw that out there right now.
Yeah,
right, throw that out there.
Right, but we were talking about this yesterday with the Hulu thing. Hulu, well, that was commercials on NHL and on NHL.com. Like if you look up a highlight, it's like, okay, You go on, you want to look at the replay of Austin Matthews' goal in Game 5 against Boston. The Hulu commercial's on. Fine. You go through it once. You want to look at the Patrick Marleau goal from that. The Hulu commercial comes. You have to watch it before every single.
And don't look up the replay, Mike.
The annoying thing is, like, so I pay for Hulu's commercial free, quote unquote commercial free thing. And certain things are commercial free, like most of the major shows are on the major networks. But I watch a lot of The Simpsons are on Hulu, and I love The Simpsons. The Simpsons are my thing to have on during the day. I'm just hanging around.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're hilarious. And and The Simpsons is an FX show. Actually, The Simpsons reruns are owned by FX.
Okay.
So there's an FX app you can buy all the Simpsons reruns. Anyway, so on Hulu, The Simpsons are on Hulu. I'm like, great, but they have FX commercials. So there's like another show on FX is Archer. Have you ever seen Archer?
I've heard about it. I haven't.
It's pretty funny. It's another animated. It's more of an adult animated thing.
Yeah.
But the problem is, like, you'll see they have 2 commercials during The Simpsons. They'll only be like 15-second long commercials, but they will be the same commercials all day long. So I will see the same. They never switch them out, and they'll just advertise for other things, or they'll advertise this or that, but the same things all day long. And that's the internet commercial thing that really kind of boggles my mind, that we're at the point where we can't get past that, because everyone knows. I think everybody has that experience somewhere.
Yeah,
it's just seeing the same commercials over and over and over again. But anyway, that is frustrating. But yay advertising, because that does pay our bills and keeps us going, keeps Hockey Buzz free.
I'm just saying, my whole beef was just don't tell me underwear is going to change my life, because
I do totally agree.
Don't encourage the other thing that I was talking about.
There are definitely some things that are for that the common man can't relate to. There's no reason at all, like, and underwear of that price tag. That was why I always had a tough time, like, thinking about using it as an advertiser. I'm like,
I don't want to get into the price of underwear, but it's just in some instances, one pair over $25 is like,
that's what this is. This is insane. So
yeah. Well, I'll give you one more. There is a product that is, I've just seen the commercial over and over on, like, watching Yankee games and other channels, called Untuck It, which is like the shirt, the dress shirt that doesn't have the long tail on it, so you can wear it untucked inside your pants. And I'm like, okay, clever, but do you have to run a commercial every other freaking break? Really? Do I need to see the same guy walking along the street? He's proud of his invention. He's got his website. I mean, can you mix in a different commercial every once in a while?
I know it would be helpful. I mean,
I think Brad Richards owns a part of that company, actually.
Really?
Yeah,
wow.
I think.
Nice hockey tie-in. All right, let's do the show. Peter Tessier should be joining us shortly.
No, I just got a note from Peter. He was going to, but he has somebody coming over to his house early.
Too hard last night. Let's admit it, Peter. Come on, just admit it.
Yeah, he did admit that he was rather hoarse after that game, and I do understand why.
Yeah, he was at the Winnipeg game. So come on now.
It's forgivable.
All right, here we go. Let's go.
But we have Jordan in the background, right? Is that Jordan?
Perla.
That's Perla. Okay.
Jordan's bigger.
Jordan. Sorry.
It's not a Greyhound than Jordan. Perla is a Predenka from Spain, actually.
1 second. I'll be right back.
It's tough keeping the members of Cohen Nation.
There's 3, Mike. It's hard to keep those 3, and then there's 2 cats. But you can remember things from like 1968.
Well, I've been alive that long, so there you go.
I get it. It's hard.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, it's like I'm really sick and tired of the man who has everything, and that would be Justin Verlander. It's like he's making $20 million a year. He's married to Kate Upton, and you thought his career was going downhill, and then all of a sudden he gets traded to Houston, and all of a sudden now he's a witch.
You're sounding so old these days, man. We're complaining about.
I have nothing against Justin Verlander. I'm fine.
I agree with you, but it's like yesterday was Tom Brady.
No, Tom Brady was different. Tom Brady was whining.
Yeah, Justin Verlander, I just, you just hate him because of envy.
Justin Verlander, that's different.
Yeah. Anyway,
I agree. All right.
Yeah.
Oh,
get out of here, Jesus.
All right. Here we go. Hello, Hockey World. It's Wednesday, May 2nd, 2018.
I'm envious Michael Agello.
I'm Russ Cohn from Sportsology.
Do not envy. And I'm Mecklin, and you're watching Hockey Buzzcast, sponsored by Hulu, brought to you in part. This is the podcast that comes every Monday through Friday at this time to fill you in on the coming. Not usually at this time, actually, at all. Usually in the afternoon to fill you in the comings and goings in the hockey world. Anyway, that's that. Let's get right into last night's game, shall we? We're coming early today. We apologize for those of you who are kind of messing up.
It's on me. It's my fault.
You can also watch it later today. It's fine.
Yes, that's the beauty of YouTube. It's on the blog.
We definitely apologize for those in the chat room who usually join us. And that we love having them, so that's fun. But for now, if you're watching it now, yes, we are indeed live, and we'll get into some rumors today because the rumor chart launches later. So we're gonna go into that as well. So let's get through these games quickly because they were both interesting games, and Ovechkin, who never scores a big goal,
yes.
Who I kind of ripped last week because he doesn't have an overtime goal in his NHL career in the playoffs.
Well, this was almost
overtime, and it was an amazing goal on top of it. I mean, it was just like, the concentration level of this goal was.
He batted it out of the air because it wasn't the first time it hit the post.
Yeah, he's going full speed. He takes a shot, hits the post, comes back, still manages with all the craziness to have the wherewithal to pop it in. And it was. Sorry, you just got text. It was really So it was such a great play, and such an amazing.
Well,
I was just totally impressed.
I have to give the Caps credit that they were down. It was one of those games where you turn your head and it's 1-0 Caps. You turn your head 5 minutes later, or you flip to the other game. You come back and it's 2-1 Pittsburgh. And normally that's when the Caps fold, and they didn't fold.
Well, all right, but hold on. There's a reason they didn't fold, and we need to talk about the elephant in the room. So
yes.
with Tom Wilson literally taking out one player at a time, which is what's happening in this series,
yes,
that's why the Caps won. And that's a big reason why they have a chance in this series. And I think it's pretty disgusting that one guy has decided this is the only way we can win a series. And since the league is not going to call me on it, I'm going to keep doing it. And I'm going to laugh about it on the bench when the guy goes down in the locker room. And that's why Chris Letang was incensed, because Tom Wilson was there laughing and taunting. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
If you want to tell me it's a borderline call, I will tell you, when you go from a shoulder to a jaw,
right,
it's still a headshot. I don't want to hear about first principle contact. If the head gets hit in the same shot, to me, it's the same thing. Like, people on Twitter are actually arguing with me because I said clean hits don't come out with injuries like a broken jaw. Concussions, yes, because you could hit the ice, but not a broken jaw. That's my point. It's never a clean hit if you break someone's jaw.
Right, and this is the problem, because if you take what has been called so far in the postseason, this was borderline, because there is video, and I get your point, Russ.
I know.
There's video, and there's still photography that have his feet on the ice and the principal point of contact being the shoulder. The point that makes this even worse is that this guy shouldn't have even been in the game based on the missed call from game 2.
Yeah,
he elbowed Dumoulin in the head. It was not principal point of contact being the shoulder. The principal point of contact was his elbow hitting Dumoulin in the jaw, and they didn't call that. And now I think the NHL has egg on their face for this guy. And I like players who hit. I like aggressive hockey.
I think Tom Wilson's a good guy, but you know what? Hit somebody in the chest. You don't have to, or hit them lower in the shoulder. There is no reason. Don't tell me it's so fast that that's the only way that play could happen, because I'll laugh at you.
And you're right. There is, this is ending up being a war of attrition with the Penguins. I mean, Dumoulin is on their defense, obviously, and Aston Reese is a forward, but they're not an incredibly deep team. So I don't know who steps in, but you have a guy out there who's headhunting, and that's what he's doing. How long is it before he targets somebody who's like
next game?
Yeah, I mean, Kessel or Crosby, or what I'm saying. I mean, I'm not. Dumoulin's an important part of their defense. Aston Reese is more of a fourth liner, but if he targets Crosby, if he targets Malkin, I mean, is the NHL going to do something then? Really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, this is I don't know. It's brutal. It's I mean this hit is terrible. I mean and I think, and it is. You're right, Mike. It is worse, and I think there has to be some kind of response by the NHL.
It's terrible in terms of cumulative effect. That's what I'm saying. It's like if this was standalone, you could say, "Oh, this is Wilson."
Great.
But the thing is though, the laughing on the bench.
Yes.
That also,
you know, if Wilson wants to get an by the way coho sandwich, you know, like somebody coming up and knocking out a couple of his teeth with a stick, like, oh, I didn't mean to do that. I wouldn't be surprised because that's the only way sometimes you stop guys like this.
Yeah,
the laughing on the bench was the part that it's bad enough that, you know, a guy's going up the tunnel and probably out for the series. But
yeah, broken jaw and concussion, according to Sullivan after the game.
Yeah,
that's just and yeah, he is. I mean that's done for the series, if not the season. I mean,
yeah.
I mean the broken jaw. I mean that's at least 4 to 6 weeks, right?
Yep. Right, but you could play with a cage. I mean, I've seen players that the broken jaw
back sooner, but it's definitely out for a while. But the idea is too that when all the refs get together and decide, nah, you know what, it's a good hit.
Yeah, I that's just. I mean, I hope there's got to be a review about this one.
I don't know. I mean,
no, they haven't announced it yet. And
they haven't announced anything. The office is open.
This is the problem. The NHL had opened up Pandora's box by suspending Doughty for a game for a hit that, yes, the contact was to the jaw of Carrier, but the intent was not there. And once they did that, they opened the door to everything. And now everybody, including me, goes online and sees Wilson elbow Dumoulin and say, okay, if Doughty was suspendable, then this is suspendable. And I said yesterday, I thought that the hit on Aston Reese was suspendable, and then saw the video afterward and said, okay, well, that's mitigating. But when you have what happened in game 2.
Lawyer language now, Mike. Now it's like, well, it's not the principal point of contact.
Well, yeah.
Whatever. If you hit the shoulder and a millisecond after that, it goes right to the jaw. Does it matter?
Yeah.
Does it really matter? It's still a headshot.
Right. It's still a headshot. It's still Rule 48. That's the thing. It's like you've opened up yourself to second guessing and to questioning, you know, what is in the mind of the Department of Player Safety when they don't suspend one and they suspend the other. I mean, honestly, right now, I think the Leafs got jobbed with the 3-game suspension to Kadri because based on some of the other things that are not getting called, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
and Mike, you said that Bruins fans felt like they got jobbed recently too, and I saw writing about that.
Yeah, and we didn't get a. I mean, we
didn't really talk about it. We should have, but
yeah, we touched on the game, and I know Jeremy Roenick during and after the Boston Tampa game said that the Bruins got jobbed in a number of calls. Now I watched most of that game, but I didn't see every call that he was talking about. But then they showed the replays, and I mean, you know, don't get me wrong. I think that Roenick was, you know, basically right. But after seeing what Boston got away with in the Toronto series, you know, like David Backes elbowing Frederik Andersen in the head, and there was not even a minor called on the elbow.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, you sort of reap what you sow sometimes. And that's the type of game that Boston plays. So sometimes you're going to get the other end of the spectrum.
But my whole thing is, with this ripping through the Penguins, I don't think the Penguins would be losing the series otherwise. And I still think they're going to win the series. But I think this is the only way, unfortunately, that Washington can win the series.
You know, it's a shame is Tom Wilson is like, you know, I've been a
talented player.
I've been a big fan of his, you know, over the years. And I mean, you know, I don't know. He's got skill. He's proven to be a playoff player, you know.
Well, I think Tom Wilson is carving out his own niche as the new Milan Lucic, because I don't think he's as talented as Lucic in terms of scoring. Maybe he is, but that's the dynamic here. He's a big player. He's got speed. And he doesn't hesitate to get physical, and he clearly loves laying out these checks. So, you know, I mean, this might start a new trend in the league in terms of getting players who can dole out some punishment, but guys who are I think Wilson's like 6'2" and 230 pounds or something like that. They don't grow on trees. So
no, and he's a great athlete. Like, he's freakishly strong. He is.
Oh yeah, no, and he's really.
I wrote about him before he got drafted, and he was freakishly strong and could do a ridiculous long jump, and he is talented. But it just seems to me like something clicked in his head. Like, you know what? This is the only way we could beat this team, and so now I'm going to do it this way.
6'4", 220. That's what he is.
I mean, does it matter to anybody that the Penguins are 1-3 now at home in the playoffs?
No.
I mean, I think it should at some point. It matters. I mean, it's just like, to me, that's like I've said, I just don't. The Penguins are a great team, but I don't think they are the great team that everybody thinks they are.
Well, the only upside to this is that this may be one less game that we have to hear the horn guy, because that guy should be summarily executed for sound pollution. But no, I mean,
or Sharky. I mean, come on now, not Sharky, but Iceberg, who who I spent the entire. I think Russ and I spent the entire series one year, pounding a drum 5 inches from my head. The entire game.
I was not a fan of Iceberg.
No,
I mean, the only thing you have to really factor in when it comes to the Penguins is the fact that, maybe extended runs for 2 consecutive seasons in the playoffs.
That's not it. I'm telling you, the Washington has had no injuries. We forget Carl Hagelin's out. If Carl Hagelin comes back next game, that's massive.
Yeah, but Malkin came back this game, I mean, and
they could have won, except they lost more players. Ashton Reese is sort of important to
Huzzah!
Had a good
Department of Player Safety will have a hearing today for the illegal check to the head of Zach Ashton Reese by Washington's Tom Wilson.
Predictions 2 games. That's my prediction.
I think 2 games also. Let's see what Washington plays, how they play without Tom Wilson. Then you'll know what the team really is.
I'll predict 1 game because 2 games. Yeah, I'll predict 1 game.
I think 2 because of what happened the last.
2 is just, but I think he's going to get 1.
All right, we'll see.
The question is whether he was warned or fined, which we wouldn't know about after that. Well, no, because they never had a hearing.
He may not have been warned, but there's a pattern developing here. The NHL will say that there's a pattern of reckless play. That's what you'll hear. A pattern of reckless play, and they kind of let him go with the last one. Which they're feeling bad about now because of what happened. So. Yeah, I mean, I think, I just don't expect anything. So I don't, as far as I see this, I really do see, and man, it's hard to put your thoughts together at 9 a.m. Sorry. I really do see the Penguins as being a team in trouble. I honestly do. And I part of it also comes down to the fact the Capitals are such a good team. I mean, the Capitals
are in trouble yet.
I don't think they're in trouble, and I don't think the Capitals are such a good team. I think the Capitals are.
I mean, we're talking about one great shot by Ovechkin.
Yeah, but the game's tied at that point, I mean,
but that's the idea. The game's tied with a minute to go, and if the Penguins were a team in trouble, they wouldn't even have gotten to that point.
No, I mean, they're not dominating them. I mean, it's like
but I mean, right now, what it is that the Capitals are getting their big players like Ovechkin to perform, which is big for them. Which in previous years you couldn't say that because they didn't. But they're not a deep team. They're a 2-line offensive team, and they're basically at defenseman number 3. Their blue line drops off. So they get a couple key injuries or they get tired. They're in trouble because they're not the team that they were last year. But right now they're leading 2-1, so you can't begrudge them that.
Yeah, I mean Gensel has 8 goals. Like I'm still not worried about Pittsburgh. I'm not.
Yeah, I think this is a toss up. I think this is 7
games. It's a toss up, but I still think Pittsburgh's favored because Pittsburgh's got their number.
Let's not get into the favored word, okay? Because the Capitals were ahead of them in the regular season, so according to you guys. Anyway,
don't start Vegas.
All right, let's shift gears to the other game, okay?
Just to prove a point that has nothing to do with hockey.
Yeah.
The Raptors did lose to the Cavaliers, so this does exist.
See.
Mental
midgets. I mean, that's the thing. It's when people get psyched out. I mean, I understand it should be the teams on the ice or on the court. That should be it. But sometimes that mental game kills you. And everything was pointing to the Raptors destroying the Cavs coming off a game 7 where they were exhausted. And what happened? The Cavs beat them in overtime.
Yeah. You know, it destroyed my Cavs walking around Cornell. That's a hilly campus.
That is a hilly campus. You're right.
It really is. I mean, my Cavs are killing me still today. Anyway, moving on to the late game by a half hour. Winnipeg, Winnipeg and Nashville. The Predators come out and jump out to a 3-0 lead in this game, and that was the shocking part of the game to me more than anything else. I don't know if it was nerves or too much hype but the Jets' response was pretty phenomenal, and the Jets do remind me a lot of the Penguins in that quick strike capability thing that they have, where they just completely if they get on a roll, they're really hard to stop. But one thing that I lived through the Peter Laviolette timeout era of calling a timeout like 30 seconds into a game at one point, right?
Right.
How does Laviolette not call a timeout in the middle of that? Like, I
know we all thought he would, and he didn't.
Well, because the timeout is your goal review. That's why it's like,
you're probably right, but still, I mean,
and so if you I was flipping through both games and the Yankee game last night. So, but I did catch this after the goal, and first of all, the goal that made it 3-1. They did review it, but I thought Stastny directed it in with the skate, but it was that they called it a good goal. And PK Subban was at the bench for about a minute and a half, redoing the tape on his stick, and that was basically the timeout there. They didn't want to use the timeout, so they did that, and it didn't stop. It didn't stop Winnipeg at all. It didn't.
Yeah, I mean, and I did anyone ask Laviolette about this last night? I'm sure someone did, but
I'm sure he did.
I'm really curious what his thoughts are, because you're probably dead on right, Mike. I didn't even think about that, the whole goaltender thing, because that's absolutely 100% why he didn't call a timeout there, and that is a part of the problem with this rule. I mean, and honestly, is because a timeout really has lost its meaning. I think if you can't call a timeout in that situation because you're worried about not being able to challenge a goal. I mean, that's like how many wrongs make a right type situation,
right. And the only time that coaches use a timeout is late in regulation, because I believe they get another timeout or another review request in overtime. So
and then late in regulation also you have they're all things are sort of reviewed on their own anyway, like by Toronto. So I don't know.
The big play in this game was the glove save by Hellebuck on Arvidsson on the breakaway.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I got to tell you something. I think Winnipeg did all they could to hold off Nashville and won that game, and I give them full credit.
Mm-hmm.
They're starting to get to Winnipeg, though. I really still feel that way.
I felt that too in that game. Like we talked after the show yesterday, and I said if I was to relook at that series before yesterday's game, I would probably go with Winnipeg. Like, and I said I went with Nashville, but I just really felt like after the first two games that Winnipeg might just be too good. And then after yesterday's game, even though Winnipeg won, I'm kind of back with you. I'm kind of back in the Nashville boat a little bit, because I mean that has to be, this Winnipeg's first game at home has to be their best shot they're going to throw at them.
Right.
The fact that they get away too, and this is another thing, a crazy thing about momentum, and we got to do the math on this one at some point, but the fact you get away with blowing a 3 with coming from behind and like giving up a 3-goal lead and then coming from behind is something that is not always great for a young team to go through, because they realize they have to come out strong. They can't fall behind every game. This is what happened to the Blue Jackets years ago against the Penguins. Remember when the Blue Jackets would fall behind every game to the Penguins in the playoffs? Mm-hmm. And eventually it catches up to you. You can't always come back. So.
Well, the only thing I was surprised at in this game, because I mean I'm watching Pittsburgh Washington, and all of a sudden my phone blows up and it says the Jets are on the scoreboard, and then it's 2 goals within I think 18 seconds, and it's boom boom, and I'm like, what the hell is going on here?
4 goals.
Yeah, exactly. And then the Jets take the lead before the end of the second period. I was a little surprised, and he's done it already once in the playoffs, that Laviolette didn't pull Rene and go to UC Saros, because
I wouldn't do it.
I know, and
I think doing it twice, I mean, you start putting doubts in the Pekka Rene's head a little bit. You got to be careful. I mean, Rene did do the thing we talked about though, where Rene started to try to do too much. You saw it; he was overcommitting, and you really saw that when that last goal was scored, eventually Rene was going to get caught because he was coming out too far. He was coming out too many things, and he does try, and there's no question that if you can get Rene like that, if you can get under Rene's skin, if you can get him moving around, he will overcommit, and he's as good as he is. He definitely overcommitted on a couple plays.
And the game, I think the game winner was a short side goal. I didn't see a replay on it, but I saw it live.
He was out too far. He was out too far on the angle and try and move around. So he's out there. He's trying to get back, and he didn't get back in time.
It's funny. I think I said it a while ago that injury that got Jack Roslovic in the series was a great move. Actually, it was addition by subtraction, because I don't think Roslovic should come out of that lineup, because even if he's not scoring, he's put in a physical component there, and also being very smart, and he is a really smart player that has really added to that Winnipeg lineup, and I think it's going to be hard to take him out.
Oh, I agree completely. He's looked amazing, and the Jets in general. I mean, excuse me, I got some comments. The Jets
goal in that third period, he looked really good. I mean, it was a really close game, but there's something in me that just feels like, if something extraordinary doesn't happen, like the way Winnipeg won that game coming from behind, that Nashville is starting to tilt in their favor, even with that loss.
Well,
it's going to be so interesting to see with that, right?
Well, the thing is that I think in this series you've seen, and they scored in the first round against Colorado, but I sort of, again, you're supposed to be Colorado, and Colorado's is pretty much challenged defensively. So if you don't score a couple points, something's wrong with you. But you started to see Johansson and Forsberg yesterday really start to not dominate, but really start to play up to the expectations. Now, one guy that I have to say, and it's disappointing, and maybe he's playing hurt, but Kyle Turris is just not there. I don't know what's going on. He was a force.
I don't know what's going on.
He was a force for Ottawa during the playoffs last year. He was a big component.
It's not the kind of thing. He was. It's not the kind of thing that you would like when Wayne Simmons was hurt, or whatever. You see a guy playing like hesitantly and stuff like that. Torres is playing so far out of position all the time. Like that's something that you usually don't see see out of a guy that's hurt. He just doesn't seem to know where to be on the ice. Like that. Yeah. That's the great. When I watch it, he's back behind the goal, behind his own goal at times in weird positions. He's not picking up anyone in the defensive zone at all. Well, he has to be the worst defensive player on the Predators right now.
Well, and I'm pretty sure it was him who was in front of Rene that deflected Byfuglien's shot that made it 3.
And why was he there? I don't know. I mean, it didn't make any sense. And that what I was saying, throughout the whole thing. And Rene, by the way, on Byfuglien's first goal, wasn't ready for the shot. He didn't set himself. I mean, it was a great shot by Byfuglien, and Rene should have seen it coming. But Rene was completely.
And that's the reason why. I mean, I don't think Laviolette's looking to put Saros in these games, but I thought a couple of the goals that erased that 3-goal lead were definitely something that Rene contributed to by being.
Well, yeah, even the tying goal, which was a great. I mean, nothing you could do type of out goal, but he getting across wasn't typical Rene.
Here's what I wonder. We never get an answer to this, Ek, and I have a feeling there's zero communication. Like, I bet you Peter Laviolette says nothing to Pekka Rene after a game.
Yeah, I bet you.
I bet you it's just the goalie coach, and that's it. It almost seems like, because otherwise you kind of wonder what that would do to the goaltenders, confidence and their ability to focus and everything. Like, it just seems like they lead those guys alone, doesn't it?
Coaches are terrified of goalies. I mean, they really are. I mean, we saw it with Elliott and the Flyers series. I mean, coaches are terrified of goalies, and they're terrified to talk to them.
Do you ever see a coach talking to a goalie?
Never.
I never do.
Especially like an experienced guy too, like Rene. Yeah. I mean, the guy who's been like Rene's been through a lot. He doesn't need coaching, like the way they look at him. I mean, and Rene's an interesting goalie because he's not your typical quack goalie. Like, he's actually the kind of guy who will talk to you after a game.
He's very got it.
Yeah, he'll talk to you before a game. He's not the kind of guy who has like all these crazy superstitions. Rene is really pretty laid back, and really, I'm super laid back and super nice guy, but doesn't have really any superstitions. He's just a different character than a lot of goalies. But I still don't get the impression that Laviolette's talking to him. I agree with you on that, and I don't think I wouldn't be either. I think it's just you have to look at it.
It's just one of those things that I wonder, and it's just I don't think they say anything like, "Hey, you had a good game," or "Hey, can you tighten it up? I don't think they say anything. That's all.
Because it's such a solitary position, where you can't really. There's no other position like it in the sport. So it's kind of like talking to a pitcher, I would guess. Like, what do you say to them?
But even pitchers get talked to more than that.
Yeah, they probably do. They probably do. But
sometimes you get negative results. I can tell you, watching the Yankees game yesterday, the pitching coach for Houston comes out, talks to the relief pitcher, tells him what he wants to do to the next batter. The next batter hits a 3-run home run out of the ballpark, and the pitcher walks off the mound and punches himself in the face.
Yeah, I saw that was Giles, who used to play for the Phillies. I saw that.
It's crazy. Yeah. I think that, I don't know. Goalie is such a weird position because it's one of the, I think it's one of the only positions in all the sports. It might be like it in a way is field goal kicker perhaps, but I'm trying to think of other positions that are basically don't fail positions. Like this is like in goalie, you're going to make great saves, but the big thing is don't make a mistake. So
punter, kicker.
Yeah, punter, kicker. But the pressure on those positions is not nearly the same as there's a goalie who's in the entire game and who's part of the thing. So
actually, hold on. Football coaches do talk to kickers because they have no respect for kickers for the most part.
Yeah.
But they do because they cut them quickly. You can't cut a goalie. Like goalies.
No, I mean, goalies are way more important, but there's no other position that's like you're expected to succeed.
Yeah.
And you're not, the only thing you can do is not let the other team succeed. Yeah. So that's your whole job is to stop the puck from going in the goal for the other team. So it's a really strange position. You can't, like I said, when you're behind, and this is what gets to some guys like Rene and other goalies too. When you're behind, you can't help your team get back in it. You can only keep you from falling further behind. So it's a real mental thing in your head. It's really
goalies are not disposable. Place kickers and relief pitchers are disposable.
Yeah. Right. So all right, let's get. I have a X addict for you today. I had this for yesterday, but yours was so good yesterday. I didn't want to compete with it. All right, so this is Coleco's head-to-head hockey. All right, so
I had that.
I've never seen that.
I had that.
Yeah, this is so this is in the era of, if you remember, the football, and you can see the football.
The football's great. I love the football and the baseball. I never had the hockey.
Yeah, the football's made a comeback too.
Yeah, but that wasn't Coleco. It was Mattelvision.
It was Mattel. Coleco did it by doing a head-to-head version of it. So what it was like, if you're on offense here, you can try to do this backwards. You can pass left, pass right. So these are your five of these players. Pass left, pass right, or shoot. And then in goal, on defense, your goalie could go back and forth like this, and you had one defender, which was just like a blip that could go back and forth like this and try to intercept the passes. So it's really fun game.
Play now that you have fat fingers, like we all get older and get fat.
Oh yeah, no, you can definitely play this. I will bring this to a game and tell you in it. It's actually a lot of fun. It's really simple. And Coleco had a baseball version of head-to-head too, which I'll show you later. But that was really cool as well. And that was, this is like the right before. This is the end of that era, at the end of that blip type football era of things. Right before video games really got big. So
before video games, right when that game was out, even a little before that, I had I took a computer class in grade school, and actually I was in 10th grade, so I was in high school actually, and I took it in high school, right?
Right.
And basically it was green bar paper, right? It was that era, and there was a horse racing game that was strictly text.
Yeah.
And it would go. This horse is in the lead. This horse is in second.
Yep. I remember. I made a game.
Riveted. We would watch this.
Oh, I know. I developed a game. Actually, I won something in my high school for it. It was a horse racing game as well, but it wasn't just text. It was I did it on my color computer. My Radio Shack color computer.
You had a Radio Shack. That was a big deal. Yeah.
What I did was I thought it was
handy.
Right. I thought it was brilliant at realistic, actually. I thought it was, I think this was a realistic one. It's called Realistic. But this is after the Tandy era, I believe. Right, like between the two.
Yeah. I think you're right.
So I had what I did is I made blocks, okay? There were different colored blocks that moved across the screen like a horse race type thing. And you could watch it. So they were just straight up blocks. And the way I did it was kind of brilliant, because there's a function in basic program, kind of boring, but there was a function in basic called random, where you could pick you'd have remember random. It would be like you'd pick like 1 to random 20. It would pick a number between 1 and 20 randomly.
Right.
So I had, based on the odds of the horse, I made the random number the odds, and then I had, if the random came up as number 1, the horse would move forward. So therefore, like a 2 to 1 horse would have a much better chance of moving forward than a 20 to 1 horse. because it would quickly do the randoms super fast. It was, I thought, really good, and it really.
What I used to do, this is really bad. In Radio Shack and Sears, when they would sell those computers, and because I was learning BASIC, I would put an infinite loop on the computer.
Oh yeah, that was fun to do. The go-to.
I know that's like a nerd moment, but whatever.
Quick. That's so funny. That's really
Calculate
funny.
the value of pi, and then it blows up. Please, when I was in high school, the computer was as big as the room. It still had the reel-to-reels.
I took a class with punch cards. I had a.
Oh yeah, no. So do we. Yeah. When my dad was a teacher at the high school, and he used up punch cards as like little like Post-it notes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's just.
Think about when's the last time you've seen a punch card?
Oh my God. You probably it's probably a collector's item now. And the game that X showed. Do you remember the game Merlin? It was basically it was like tic-tac-toe. That's all it was.
Yeah. Well, this was Coleco's head-to-head baseball.
Yes, okay. I had that too.
Wow, I went straight.
That one was good.
This one was good because you had like a pitcher on one side, I think there, and then a batter on the other side, right? And I just found a battery. I wonder if head-to-head hockey works.
Actually, you know what? There was a game for baseball that was non-computerized that was great. It was called Sure Shot Baseball, and
I think I remember that vaguely.
It was a little plastic stadium, and basically, like out in center field was like a little bit of a slide, and you had a ball, and you could pitch that ball to the batter. The batter would have a real bat, and you'd have to turn it, and you could put like spin on this ball. Like it was actually pretty great.
That's pretty amazing. That sounds fun.
That game in years. I don't know.
Why don't
we touch quickly on the two games tonight, and then we can get into the rumors. Okay, Lightning and Bruins are tied 1-1, game 3, back in Boston. Russ, I like I said, I think this series is going 7. I picked the Lightning. So. And after game 2, where I think they got back in the series, game 1, they were sort of dozy, sleepy, and the Bruins are coming off the game 7 against Toronto. So I think they were more, into doing what you have to do to win. Now it's Boston's got home ice advantage, obviously going back to game 3, but Tampa, they get the kind of performance out of Vasilevsky that they did in game 2, and they get the offense that they did. There's nothing. I don't think there's nothing stopping them from winning at TD Garden.
Yeah, I think that Tampa might actually be a little bit relieved to go on the road right now. From what I was talking to somebody down there, and they said that, and this is good. This is like a good thing for hockey that Tampa's actually getting some heat, like, in the area, which is good because that beyond the heat.
It's not hot enough in Tampa. Is that what you're saying?
Beyond the heat they always get, yes. But yeah, it's kind of cool. I mean, I think it's kind of neat that they're actually getting some pressure down there.
Yeah.
To do long. I think it's going to be,
the big challenge to me is now the Boston defense holding back Tampa's offense. Now that Tampa's offense seems like it's clicking.
Yeah.
And I have to say, even though he was still a force late in the Toronto series, I started to pick up on Chara really starting to get weary. He was playing his 25, 26, 27 minutes a night. And I know he's 41 years old and he's still very effective, but the quick leaf forwards were starting to tire him out. Mm-hmm. And that they make a move, I think that could happen quicker in the series against Tampa, because I think Tampa is more in terms of talent, deeper in their lineup, and their defense is more active than Toronto's is.
I mean, you're making me picture like Chara, like he's King Kong, and there's all these planes buzzing around him, and he can't get them. But I guess that could happen.
Now Vegas is up 2-1. Game 4 in San Jose late tonight.
This is their game. Yeah. Like this is a must-win for the Sharks. They lose this game, they lose the series.
Oh yeah, this game's not coming back for game 6 if they lose this game.
Right.
Now the thing is, I keep seeing them say, "Well, Joe Thornton is close, but he's not in the line." Like, I mean, are we gonna? I mean, how far is it gonna take for them? I mean, unless this is just a shell game and they're using it as a distraction, to make Vegas plan for it. But I mean,
it's funny because is Joe Thornton being hurt really a distraction anymore in San Jose? I mean, this has been something. This has been something that's going on for
a rallying point. He's practicing with them
for years. I mean, yeah, for years we've been talking. You know, it's like the Joe Thornton watch. It's like part of the fabric.
Well,
of
I'm just saying his mere mention makes Gerard Gallant plan for it. But
yeah, maybe. Although I don't get the sense that Gallant plans for anything. Like I think he's just letting these horses run. I mean,
yeah, he just runs his system.
They asked him at one point. They said, "What are you looking forward to matching?" He's like, "Not really." He's like, "I have a couple things."
Too much. It's true. I mean, he doesn't have to.
No, there's a couple things I might do. He said to get, this was in the LA series, but for the most part,
even substitutions. Has he even made any substitutions?
No, I mean,
that I can think of.
He's just letting this. I mean, it's the right thing to do with a confident team. Like, not get involved. Just stay away from it. Because you coaches have plenty of times to move this player to that line and this player to that line. But this is like when your team's going like this, just stay away. I mean, he knows that. He knows that better than anybody. Just to clear out. Just let them do what they want to do.
Well, let's talk rumors.
Let's talk rumors. Yes, let's talk rumors. Okay, so. The rumor chart is going to launch at some point today. My developer's in San Jose at a conference, so it's a little early in the morning for him right now. But he's going to get there. He's going to get up. So at some point we'll get up. All right. So I've got a bunch of players on it already. Of course, on the rumor chart, I don't talk about players who are still playing on the rumor chart. I don't put them on the rumor chart. I keep them out of there. But we do. There's plenty of players who aren't playing anymore. And one of those I talk about in my blog today is James Van Riemsdyk, who is at this point, it really looks like, and like Mike has always said all along, he's not going to return to Toronto. And I know James Van Riemsdyk. I know how happy he is there. So I keep thinking that there's a chance he could, because he's going to find a way. But
it's not okay. It's not that the Leafs don't like him.
Of course.
It's not that, he doesn't like Toronto. It's purely the fact that they can't fit his contract and what he's going to be rightfully demanding on the open market. They can't pay him 7 years at $6 million. And that's what he's going to get from somebody.
Yeah.
I think he's going to get a max contract for about $6. He's going to get the Kyle Oposo, David or Milan Lucic.
But there's going to be a new sheriff there in town, and I kind of wonder now if that's going to change the cap structure, Mike. It could.
Well, he, is definitely, if you start to go to analytics, right? I mean, for what it's worth, I mean, maybe he's not, maybe his Corsi sucks or whatever. I don't know. But the whole concept of him scoring goals doesn't suck. I mean, he's putting up numbers, and you got to replace 40 goals if you get rid of him.
My basic point is, when Lou was in charge, he might have wanted things to go a certain way. I mean, clearly the cap's going to go up. So for 1 year, they could fit in James Van Riemsdyk's new salary. It's not going to matter, because if it goes up $5 million, they'll figure it out. But I get what Mike's saying long term, but long term, the Leafs' plan could be changing now a little bup, and we don't know what that change is going to be.
Well, first, two things. One, the depth of the organization is on the wings and not up the middle. So if they're going to spend money, it's more than likely they would get in on Tavares or trade for a center who's signed already, then re-signing Van Riemsdyk, unless Van Riemsdyk takes a sweetheart hometown discount type of deal, 5 years, $5 million. And I don't see him doing that because of the deal that he's just coming off with the Flyers. The second thing is Mike Babcock, in spite of the fact he scored 36 goals, JVR, his average ice time was less than 15 minutes a night. Babcock does not trust him even strength. He's a specialist, and that's how he treats him. And that is not. You're begging. You are putting yourself in a corner if you pay what you consider a complimentary specialist type player, in spite of the fact he led the team in goal scoring, giving him big money and long term. That's why I don't think they're going to re-sign him, and that's why I think they should have traded him at the deadline. But we'll see. And no
teams I've heard about. Okay, so in my early research, and I've got at least 15 pages on James Van Riemsdyk in my notes. I really am hearing more and more that the Vancouver Canucks are the team to look out for with this one, and that they see him as a they've got to replace goal scoring as well. Of course, Sedins are going away. Also power play players that play a ton of minutes on the power play for them.
And the interesting thing, Ak, is is that the rumors coming out of Toronto regarding Tyler Bozak have been tied to Vancouver. And, coming with the fact that you've opened up $14 million in cap space with the Sedins retiring, you're talking about a combo that isn't as, simpatico as the Sedins, but Van Riemsdyk and Bozak have played together as a tandem since he was acquired from Philadelphia in 2012. Yeah. So.
And the only team I have heard a little bit, very little bit about Bozak and Van Riemsdyk both being interested in going in terms of going to the same team. The only team I haven't heard that with Vancouver. I have heard that with Buffalo. And that Bozak and JVR could go to Buffalo together.
They have a lot of centers. That's the only.
Yeah, no, I
first year they could put Middlestat on the wing. They could.
Yeah, I mean, Buffalo's going to do a lot. Okay, Buffalo. This by getting this first pick overall is a great thing for them, but they're going to do a lot more than that.
Well, they also fired their team president today for some in-office chicanery apparently. So I mean that's one change, but the
president is the president of the Sabres and
the Bills. Yeah, Russ Brandon. Now the thing is though, and I don't pick up on, and I may be wrong, but right now I'm not picking up on big moves in terms of them adding in free agency. I'm picking up on big moves about them buying out players. I think they're going to buy out Zach Bogosian.
But you buy out players to what end? You buy out players to
get them off the roster because they're detrimental.
But to also
I even though you're closer, Mike, I get the feeling based on what I read in that printout yesterday from the news release, and based on what we've seen from Terry Pegula, knowing that they have the first pick. I think he's going all out again in the free agent market.
I mean, you may be right, and you may be right as well. But I mean, I don't think it's going to be like you said. I don't think it's going to be a center because you've got Eichel, you've got O'Reilly, you've got Middlestat, and they did play Middlestat at center for the brief part at the end of the year.
But it doesn't mean they won't put him on the wing for a first year.
It doesn't. They have a. I mean, I'm convinced that either O'Reilly or Ristolainen will be traded before the beginning of next season. I'm now leaning toward
Ristolainen.
I think there's a good chance they trade Ristolainen.
I mean, that would make zero sense. I mean, that would be the most ridiculous move in the world. I mean,
say that, but this is what we've been hearing for a while. Like,
I know, but I think that. A lot of what you've been hearing on that has come from other places than Buffalo itself.
No, it's come from people who know the Sabres intimately. That Ristolainen. I mean, this is the thing. Ristolainen is a right-hand shot defenseman, and with Dahlin, I think Dahlin's on your top pairing.
Yeah, but he doesn't have to be first year. That's the thing.
He doesn't have to be.
You gotta have two. You can't have. You gotta have two. You gotta have two good defensemen. You can't have and the two.
The whole point of this, they keep them, but
the whole point of this whole taking Dahlin to me is to have both of them. Like if you take Dahlin and get rid of one of them, you're right back where you were. It doesn't make any sense.
No, it's based on the fact that how much you value Ristolainen and the internal problems that have been rumored, and
I know, but
be off base. I don't know. I just think there's a very good possibility.
I don't know. Talking to some players on the team, I think that internal stuff is more being generated from the media and other places. I don't think I may be wrong. I might be wrong, but I happen to know somebody on that team who's really high up on that team, and I've heard them just be really pissed off about the stuff that's being said about him. I think that he's going to stay. But the other teams with James Van Riemsdyk, I've heard the Devils. I have them. So right now in the rumor chart, what I have is I have Vancouver at 30%, the Devils at 20%. I have Toronto at 15%.
Yeah.
I have the Rangers at 15%. And then I have, the Rangers, of course, cleared up a lot of cap space. What they're going to do with that cap space, we don't know, but they have always liked JVR. JVR has always wanted to go to the Rangers, so
that's something. He's a Rangers fan.
But Kovalchuk's going to get in the way of that. That's the problem.
Could, but Kovalchuk, I'm telling you, I still don't totally buy the Kovalchuk thing.
I'll tell you right now that the chances of Kovalchuk going to Toronto died with Lou Lamoriello.
Yes, I would agree with that.
No, but maybe Lou surfaces someplace else, like the island.
Oh yeah.
could go to the Islanders. That's
if he does go to the Islanders, then Kovalchuk might be
perfect fit for Kovalchuk. But I don't think the Rangers is a perfect fit for Kovalchuk.
But Jeff Gorton already said they were going to be talking to him. Like, I'm not a proponent of this move unless they get Tavares, but I'm just saying they've acknowledged that they're going to talk to his people. They're going.
There's a little of that. Okay. It's a little of that of like, we're not in the playoffs. We got to say something to get on WFAN for 5 minutes. I mean, like,
well, that didn't get on WFAN. Please.
I know, but I think that, to at least appease Rangers fans when they're trying to, sell them stuff, of course they're going to talk to Kovalchuk. Kovalchuk wants to play there. So, and they have a history, the Rangers have a history of signing people who want to play there. I get that. But at the same time, this is a different thing.
I don't think WFAN has heard of hockey unless it's Boomer Esiason talking about his future son-in-law.
Yeah, quite possibly. So, then the other two teams, still, I heard Ottawa at 10. I have Ottawa at 10%, with JVR, and I have Florida at 10%.
Okay.
So that's what I've got so far for that. The other player I was kind of looking at today, I'll just go through today that is interesting. We haven't talked about much is Jack Johnson.
Right.
So
he's clearly out of there. I would be shocked if he.
Yeah. I only have him 20% going to Columbus. But I think that I think he is clearly out of there. They wanted. There was one point where they thought they were going to get something done, then they didn't again. They've gone back and forth a couple times. It's still possible that they do. I mean, I think that it depends.
Columbus has been great to him. I mean, let's face it. When he had all those financial hardships, they were fantastic to him. But it's not about that. I think it's just about the way he fits into that team.
This is another player that Buffalo has interest in. And also, I've also heard, but the team I hear that's really going hard after Jack Johnson will surprise you, and that is the Chicago Blackhawks. And
I think the Blackhawks makes more sense. I think if Buffalo goes after him, that's Zach Bogosian II. Like, you're just asking for trouble. But if Chicago goes after him, I mean, I would think the motivation for Johnson is to put himself in the best scenario and to make the most money based on his financial problems. He's not going to make the most money in Chicago. He's going to get a 1 or 2 year deal in Chicago. He's going to be probably looking to get a 3 or 4 year deal someplace. I wouldn't doubt someplace like Arizona signs him because they have money to burn.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, see, one thing you have to remember about Chicago this summer is they brought back all their guys. They brought back their head office, right? The front office. They brought back McDonough and all that stuff. Chicago, McDonough is it's always been all about making media splashes. Like he really wants to do anything so Chicago is going to be incredibly active. I was told like they're going to do some things because this is the team that didn't make the playoffs, remember? And they're going to do a lot, and it depends on who they move out, of course.
Well,
but
let me ask this because we know the Flyers I think need a goaltender. What do you think the interest from the Flyers would be in a guy like Corey Crawford? Because I think Corey Crawford is going to be the big name that's going to get moved.
Yeah, I mean that's a possibility. That somebody like that, I think
there would be interest, but if Sorokin's coming over. The Islanders generally go cheap and net, and if he looks halfway,
he's talking about the Flyers.
The Flyers, no, zero.
Okay.
As of now, at least what the Flyers are saying is that they're going to ride the Elliott Neuwirth train one more year.
Well, because here's the thing: it is bad that they do that, but they don't have much of a choice. If you sign Crawford for 3 years, then you're definitely starting to impede on Carter Hart territory. And the Flyers have done that in the past with other guys when they're signing veteran goalies.
Crawford has 2 years left.
Right. That is what is intriguing about this. Crawford has 2 years left, and that fits in a little bit well. Like, that
does fit in better. I thought he had 3. Okay.
Then you have him for 1 year this year, and then you go into the other situation where you have, where Hart comes up next year, and you have Crawford still around, and you could
and Crawford plays 55 games, and Hart plays 27, and you don't put all the weight on a young kid, and that's what I'm saying. I think that's a fit. I don't know.
Makes sense. I haven't gotten any sense of it though. But we'll see. Time could change.
I mean, just going back to Chicago, I don't see that. Like, I mean, is it possible that Duncan Keith gets moved? I mean, you don't take anything off the board if they really want to radically change that roster or change what's things are stale. Do you trade one of Kane or Taves? I don't think so. Even though that it would.
No, you can't trade either of those guys.
Right. So that it's either the goaltender it's one of the two defensemen, Seabrook or Keith, and I think you have a much easier time trading Keith because I think people still think he's got more left than Seabrook. Or do you move Saad again? And then I don't think that really does anything. That doesn't move.
You know what? We have to go back to Johnson for a minute. I think Arizona. I was looking over their cap and cap friendly. They do have obviously tons of room, but also Chychrun is expected to be back by training camp, but he has another knee injury.
Right.
That's not a guarantee. This kid's been awfully banged up for the early part of his career. They do need some stability there, and that would be a way of getting some stability there.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. I do think we got to get going though, unfortunately.
Okay.
And great show, guys. As always, we're going to talk more rumors tomorrow and throughout the summer. So, and the rumor chart when it launches will have a lot of interesting things on it. I think you guys will have fun with as well. Remember, without the buzz is just hockey. We will talk to you tomorrow.